Hey, weirdos, I'm Ash.
And I'm Elena.
And I'm Doug Jones.
And we have a very special episode of Morbid today.
Woo! Doug Jones is here, guys.
Whoa.
Weirdos. Doug Jones is an absolute icon, to be perfectly honest. And also, we can also say that he is the nicest monster in Hollywood
100%.
We have had to reschedule this pod twice because of just various shenanigans that occurred. Nicest man ever. Like, truly, if it was going to happen with anyone, I'm glad it happened with Doug. So thank you for being so patient with us.
Oh, and me. I love you guys.
No, we love you. So Doug has breathed life into roles like the Faun and the Pale Man in Pan's Labyrinth. Those are two of my favorites, like all-time favorites.
So good.
The Amphibian Man in the Academy Award-winning film The Shape of Water. His resume includes the roles of Billy Butcherson, iconic from Hocus Pocus, Baron Alphanos on What We Do in the Shadows, as well as the titular role in David Lee Fisher's upcoming film, Nosferatu, A Symphony of Horror. And we are just so excited to have him on the pod today. So again, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you. And I can't live up to that introduction. I think we're done here.
You already have. You've already
do
lived
every
up to it.
Thank you.
So your, like we just said, your resume is mighty, like one of the mightiest. We have to ask, how are you able to do all that, to be all that, to personify all that, and still keep your feet on the ground and truly be the nicest monster in Hollywood?
Oh, well, thank you for thinking of me in that manner. I don't deserve it. I love you for that.
You do.
It's funny. My resume is long, not because I'm really that good. It's just because I'm that old. I've been around a while, So my career has happened because of the graciousness and kindness of the Creature Effects makeup people, honestly. If it wasn't for their referrals early on, that propelled me to the next project and the next one and the next one, I never would have met the wonderful Rolodex of directors I have now worked with, including the ever great Guillermo del Toro.
Oh.
It's because of those early days being, when you come to Hollywoodland and you're a tall, skinny, goofy actor boy, 6'3", 135 pounds, and you have a background as a mime, and you can also put your legs behind your head. So your resume says contortionist on it.
There you go.
So that was like my first commercial agent's dream. It's like, okay, we can do so much with this. So they submitted me for all kinds of things that were physical tomfoolery and clowning and miming, of course. And a lot of those roles that came with that kind of breakdown also came with a look that needed to be glued on to me. So those early commercials that I did, the very first commercial I ever did was for Southwest Airlines as a dancing mummy.
I love it.
Right. How that worked into an airline, I'll never remember. But I think the fares had dropped low enough that I could finally come out of my sarcophagus and go on vacation. I think that's how it worked. And then shortly after that, I booked a commercial for a Worlds of Wonder toys for a doll commercial. And I was an alien landing in a kid's backyard. And I thought I was making first contact because the doll was left out. And it was a talking doll. But, you push it on the belly. It's like, ooh, that tickles, whatever. So it was like a funny little, we're first contact. But it was that Creature Effects makeup designer that made those alien outfits for that commercial then also was doing the moon head for the Mac Tonight campaign for McDonald's.
I remember those so vividly.
Right? Well, it's set to the theme song taken from Mac the Knife, but rebranded for McDonald's as Mac Tonight.
I love it.
It's Mac Tonight. Hey. Yeah. So I ended up booking that job as the Crescent Moonhead guy under this huge, heavy mask, also created by Steve Neal. So I was already getting a taste of, the Creature Effects world is tight and almost incestuous, and and they're very loyal.
Mm-hmm.
So if they like working with you, so the reputation got around town that I'm tall, skinny, move well, and don't complain when there's a lot of stuff on me.
You're lovely to work with.
So I guess that's the reputation that got around the Creature Effects. So the referrals happened and snowballed from there, and here we are 38 years later, and it's with a resume that I never foresaw. I never thought like I want to be monsters. I really wanted to be a sitcom star when I started. I wanted to be like a goofy next door neighbor that comes, like on the Dick Van Dyke Show,
Oh,
or
I love that.
this, or being Kramer on the Seinfeld. The guy who comes in and does something funny and leaves. That's
right.
all. I had very low aspirations for myself.
You surpassed all of them.
Very much.
Oh, thank you. So getting swept up by the creature effects world was a surprise to me, but a happy one that has turned into a career that has been very, very good to me. And when you mentioned Guillermo, like the likes of Guillermo del Toro, when you are standing on the stage at the Academy Awards, because a movie you were in called The Shape of Water just won Best Picture, and you're there with the entire team accepting the award for Best Picture, and it's a Academy Best Picture with a monster on the cover. This doesn't happen.
Yeah,
it really doesn't.
And you happen to be the guy who played that monster. It's surreal moment. You can imagine.
I was gonna say, how does your brain wrap around that? Like, just being on the Academy Awards stage must be like, what?
Well, you're looking out a sea of the most famous faces you've ever seen in your life, and they're all looking back at you with adoration in their eyes. It's like this moment doesn't happen to just anybody.
No.
It doesn't.
That's a pinch me moment for sure.
Totally.
I'd be like, the aliens should abduct me now. This is insane.
Right. That's a good time to die happy, right?
Truly, you're like, I'm good. And it's funny that you brought up the Mac Tonight character.
Yeah.
One, I vividly remember those commercials, so that's so funny. But also, our researcher for Morbid, our friend Dave, his father, Jim White, actually directed a lot of those commercials. So we had this weird 1 degree of separation.
What
Isn't that
are
nuts?
the chances?
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, it's awesome. Yes.
And I remember us talking about this like a long time ago when he brought up like, oh, my dad directed those things. We are like, oh my God, I used to love those commercials. And then we found out you were Mac Tonight. We were like, what?
Well, if you can get a message back to him that I love him dearly to this day.
Oh, of course.
We definitely will.
He'll love that.
Thank you. Aw.
And we spoke about Guillermo del Toro, and I have to ask because I'm a huge Guillermo del Toro fan. I think he is so brilliant, and he seems like he's one of those people that he seems like one of the sweetest, kindest, just like genuine person. What is it? Is he that person? What is it like to work with him?
He will. They say don't meet your heroes, but he is one you would absolutely love to meet because he will live up to all of your dreams and expectations of who he is.
I love that.
You can imagine how often I get asked, "What's it like to work with Guillermo del Toro?" You got to tell me because you're not alone in that love for him. I hear such love for him everywhere I go. And when you work with him, you're doing two things. You are under the tutelage of one of the most visionary, brilliant artists in the world ever. You're also hanging out with like a funny friend who is the self-effacing, hilarious, and sassy as can be. So he's right.
I love that he's sassy.
Oh no, he's got the best sense of humor, and in fact, he's a director that understands his actors better than any director normally does. He directs all of us on the same project in different ways depending on our personality and what we'll respond to because he's already sussed all that out.
Wow,
he's brilliant with the human spirit and psychology and all of it. So with the set of buttons on us that he now knows what to push to get what reaction out of us on the day, he'll direct so from the Hellboy movies, Ron Perlman, Selma Blair, and Doug Jones, very different personalities. So we all got different types of direction from him.
Oh, that's like brilliant.
Now with me, it's very simple. He knows if he can make me laugh, I'll do whatever he says. So one of my favorite examples was from Hellboy 2, The Golden Army. There was one long tracking shot that he wasn't going to cut away to anything. He had no coverage to cut away to. So I had to do a lot of physical business while this one camera circled me. And I had to be done with the business by the time the camera stopped. Well, I wasn't. The first take of this, it's like I was going slow and methodical and like milking these moments visually. And by the time the camera stopped and just stayed there for a while, and I wasn't done yet, finally Guillermo del Toro, he yells, "Cut! Dougie, you're boring me to tears." Right? And that's all he had to say. And I was like, got it.
Like,
So,
okay,
I'll go in a different direction.
I heard
so
you.
take two worked. And I love him dearly. We do have a shorthand like that.
Oh, I love that. That makes me so happy because it truly is one of those things that you hear that all the time. Don't meet your heroes. And I'm like, not Guillermo.
You can meet Guillermo. There you go.
Meet Guillermo.
Yeah. Guillermo.
Guillermo. I love it.
Yeah.
But so one of the big things that's happening right now is that we are in the final season of What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah.
Which,
bittersweet, right?
It starts
Yeah.
on the 21st. And you obviously play Baron Alphanos. Amazing character. So
Yes.
good. You are like,
Thank you.
So
chef's
much fun.
kiss. What is it? Has it been emotional to say goodbye to that character in this show?
Yes. By the way, the Baron loves you very much too, my darling. Don't worry about it.
Amazing.
Playing Baron Afanas has been the joy of my life. After this 38-year career of mine, that I have behind me, with more coming ahead, of course. But
Yes.
looking back, it's like I've looked forward to going to work a very handful of times over all of the jobs that I've done, because I know that a lot of them are very physically taxing, and I know it's ahead of me, and I'm going to have to go through the process and the thing, right? Or I have a ton of like science fiction dialogue that I have to blurt out in a monologue with techno talk in it, and I love them but dread them at the same time. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, definitely.
What we do in the shadows? Oh my gosh, I look forward to it with like. I can't wait to get there,
I love that.
because when you're doing something that's all for the funny, and you are taking vampire tropes and sending them up and and just like mocking all of it.
The best.
In this age of comedy that we're in now, everyone's being so careful to not offend.
Mhm.
Well, our show does nothing but offend everybody,
And
So
that's
it's
what makes it great.
And it's got an old school vibe to it because of that, right?
We love an
right.
equal opportunity offender.
Absolutely. Let's just make fun of everybody, and we're all
across
taking care
the board.
of them.
Yeah, then nobody's left out, and everybody can be offended together.
Exactly.
Right. And what the Baron has also afforded me was, when I've always had a love of vampires. They've always intrigued me,
Mhm.
and I've wanted to play, a classic vampire. So years ago, if you had asked me what's my dream role, it would have been what we're going to talk about next, would be Nosferatu, right?
Of course.
The dark mystery of him, and the horrific look of him.
Yes.
Well, when I was offered the role as Baron Afanas in What We Do in the Shadows, he kind of was a parody of Nosferatu in a way. He's the vampire that comes from the old world, and he's sent all of his minions out to North America to conquer the new world, and they never made it out of Staten Island, so he kind of stays there with them now. Like, whatever, right? So
We'll just do this.
no, I just I love that now that I've done the Nosferatu, A Symphony of Horror movie, and What We Do in the Shadows, I've had both the light and the dark of this type of vampire character.
That's my favorite part, is that you've touched both sides of the spectrum on the vampire scale.
And so perfectly.
So good.
Oh,
so
thank
good.
you.
And speaking of I was just thinking about like how you were saying, like some days you would be like, oh God, I have to go in and I'd have to like spew out all this dialogue that's crazy, or I have to go in the makeup chair. Do you do anything specific? Because I know you probably had to sit in that makeup chair for a lot of these roles for a long time. Do you have to do anything specific to like get yourself in a vibe to be able to do that?
Well, here's the weird thing about me, is that I don't need to do anything specific. Unlike most people, I don't get antsy. I don't get stir crazy. I can sit still and stare at a wall for hours and be completely entertained.
Wow.
What is that like?
I know.
That's amazing.
Because that's the number one question I get from people. Is like, I would go crazy if I just sit still for that long. And it's like, nope, that's the easy part of my day.
Yeah.
The makeup artists are doing all the work during that time. And I get to just kind of sit there and go over my dialogue if I need to, or we listen to music, or we tell jokes, or whatever, right? It's a great time of day. It's when now that it's on, and you have extra heat, weight, stickiness to your person,
Mhm.
and you have to perform in it all day and keep your energy up while wearing extra layers of stuff, and trying to not stick to your chair when you're taking a break or whatever it is, right? That's the long part of the day for me, honestly.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Because that would destroy me. I'm so heat sensitive that I feel like
Yeah.
as soon as I started sweating, I'd be like, get it off.
Yeah, I know.
Help me.
No, I delineate between suits and makeups. A monster suit would be something that you slip into, zip up the back, right? And it might involve a head that slips over your head, snaps down to the neck, and then there's mechanics that are puppeteered in the face, right? That's a suit. Makeup would be either glued or painted onto my real person. So when you're in a suit, there's nothing quite like that feeling of, now it goes on much faster. You're maybe 30 minutes into the whole thing and you're ready to perform. But once it's on, they're usually very heavy and very hot. And you feel that trickle of sweat going down the back of your neck and you can't get to it. Or you feel that trickle of sweat coming down the side of your face. Is it going to hit my eye? I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it going to go, it's on the cheekbone now. I guess whatever.
There it
It's in
is.
my mouth now.
Yeah, because salty sweat in the eye, you don't want to do that while you're on camera.
Not great.
Not ideal.
I give you
Right.
credit.
Truly.
Right.
I think the heaviest thing I've ever worn is my wedding dress. And even that, at the end of the night, I was like, get this off of me.
I was like,
No,
seriously.
well, people who just wear wigs on camera, it's an itchy mess and they want them off. I totally get it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wearing a wig for Halloween. I'm like, why did I choose to do this? Like, this is awful.
Right.
You end up ripping it off at the end of the night, like,
Right. Yeah.
Well, going back to our love of vampires, your love and our love, we are so excited, like completely stoked for the premiere of David Lee Fisher's Nosferatu, A Symphony of Horror. That is premiering on October 18th on Apple TV Plus, so everybody go check it out. But this is a very different approach to remaking a classic film. It's shot in black and white. It's so hauntingly beautiful.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
We got to get a little sneak peek. Thank you for the screener.
It is
Of course.
delicious looking.
It's beautiful. So can you tell us a little bit? Do you know anything about like how they really created the film?
Yeah. Thank you for setting that up so beautifully, by the way, because it's a very confusing time for the title Nosferatu, because there is another one right on our tail coming out Christmas, directed by the wonderful Robert Eggers and starring the brilliant Bill Skarsgård in the same role I'm playing. Now, he might be younger, hotter, and more famous than me, but I think we can have both, can't we?
Absolutely. We all want both.
Good.
We do.
Yeah, you're right. And I'm going to watch theirs with every bit of glee as I'm watching on my own. Ours, though, what makes ours a little bit different is it's scene for scene the same movie as the silent film that made it a classic in the first place. So I got to get into not only Max Schreck's role, but I also was in his environment, digitally reproduced from the original film.
That's so
David
cool.
Lee Fisher, our director, is a technical wizard who made this all magic happen. So it might be something as much as when I was out, let's say when Nosferatu was outside walking around with his coffin under one arm. That would be a complete 100% green screen set with marks on the floor to match exactly where I needed to turn, stop, walk up steps, whatever, right? That we would match then and with the laid in frame from the old movie. Then the least amount of green screen used might be Ellen's bedroom when I finally get into her and I'm finally, reaching the pinnacle, the object of my desire. She's the dessert of all the meals I've had over my vampire years. Well, her bedroom scene was walls built, furniture in the room, and the window, though, was green behind it so that they could put in the original movie window behind that.
That's amazing.
So there's a green screen element to every scene of the movie. Yeah. And so that does bring old and new together with a very ethereal kind of dreamlike feel to it.
Right.
But also ours, that's why we filmed ours in black and white so that we could match the old movie more seamlessly, and also with dialogue and sound that fleshes out that silent film story. It is scene for scene the same story, but now with dialogue, you get to hear more of it.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And it really does have that ethereal quality to it. It's
does.
like it's almost like, I don't even know if this is the right word. It feels like gauzy.
Yeah.
When you watch it, like it's this like pretty
That's a
veil.
great word.
over it.
Yeah.
That is.
Like I don't know
Gauzy.
why. It just feels gauzy. I love it.
It is.
She's a novelist. It makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned before that this is a role you hoped you would play someday. So how was it playing this role? Was it completely surreal?
Yes. He had been my bucket list character for many years. And I think I always had a love and fascination with vampires anyway. And of course, I loved Bela Lugosi as Dracula.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, all the other Draculas over the years that have been played by various wonderful actors. but there's a certain sexiness about Dracula that I thought, I don't know that Doug Jones can pull that off.
I think you
And
could.
then
You totally could.
well, bless you for that. But then there's also the teenager sparkly ones from that other franchise that I'm like, I'm never going to fit that demographic. So
That's okay.
That's totally fun.
Right. So, but the buck-toothed, pointy-eared, scraggly one, yes, him I get.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah. So that's why Nosferatu. But what I also love about his hideous look is that he's probably not aware that he looks that bad now. He's a count, right? So he's of nobility. In his younger day when he was a human, he probably was quite fetching,
Absolutely.
And he probably was respected by the community and who knows what story got him, what decisions he made, what position he put himself in to become a vampire.
Mm-hmm.
And now, decades, millennia, centuries later, who knows how old he is, he's living with his choice, right?
Yeah.
And is he ever satisfied? Is this a satisfying lifestyle for him? So that's why what I loved about him was his yearning for Ellen, the character that I'm after in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, Ellen was played by Sarah Carter. Sarah Carter and I starred together as series regulars on Falling Skies about 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And it's because of that relationship that I said, hey, Sarah, would you be a deer?
Oh,
and
I
she's like,
love
oh my
that.
gosh, I love this. So that's how we got her into the movie.
Oh,
She's
that's
like, oh, play
awesome.
Ellen? Okay.
Yeah,
And
twist my
she's
arm.
like, is she not a movie star?
Oh my
seriously.
God.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, ridiculous. Right.
Yeah,
And gorgeous from
incredible.
every angle. I know. I totally know.
Truly.
And so her husband in the movie, young Thomas, was played by Emery's Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a series regular on Coronation Street now. It's a very
Oh,
British.
okay.
He's from Great Britain, so that his accent was legit.
Oh, I
okay.
love that.
So he's sent on this journey by his real estate boss, who goes crazy. By the way, his real estate boss was the character Knock, played by an actor named Edgar Allan Poe. Do you believe
Stop
that?
it.
I know.
Destined for
Never
perfection?
heard of him. Should I know that name?
Yeah. I don't know what from.
Yeah.
But yeah. So Knock sends young Thomas on this journey to fetch me in Transylvania because I'm interested in buying a piece of property in their hometown right across the street from them. Because something about me, Ellen has been calling to me from afar and I haven't really, known who she is yet or what she is, but I know that I need her. He comes to me to sign paperwork for this real estate deal. And while he's with me, he's getting creeped out by all that I am, and what I look like. And I love those scenes when we're at the dinner table and he's eating food and I'm not. And I'm just kind of staring at him or,
I love that so much.
So fun.
right. There was so much
Mhm.
dialogue happening in those quiet, silent moments where he's very uncomfortable and I'm very comfortable.
Too comfortable, one might say.
exactly.
And one of my favorite moments too was I'm about to sign the paperwork and I pause for a minute and say, do you have the time? And he hands me his pocket watch, in which was a photograph of Ellen, his wife. And that was like, dun, dun, dun. That was the moment that Count Orlok realizes that's the object of my desire. That's who I've been dreaming of. That's who I've been
Mhm.
wanting all this time. So he rushes and signs the paperwork, and now it's a done deal. So what I love too about this story is that once he gets to the town and takes residency across the street from Ellen and Thomas, he doesn't go right for her right away. He peers at her through the window like a creep.
Of course.
And other people in town are dying all around them. They think there's an epidemic that's wiping. There's some kind of a virus wiping out the city. So he saves her for dessert, right?
Oof.
And by the
That's so
time he gets to
chilling.
her, this is the ultimate. This is what right, the moment his whole life as a vampire has been leading to this moment.
It's his magnum opus.
Yeah, right. And I love that David Lee Fisher left the camera on me for a long time while I am on her neck.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
it's very sensual and very disgusting all at the same time.
Exactly
Right?
Beautifully
what it should be.
horrific.
Yeah.
Beautifully horrific. Great way to say it. So when he comes to and realizes that the sun is up and it's coming through the window, he's like, he kind of overdid it. He overindulged in his addiction. I think that's when he had his come to light moment
Mhm.
of I wanted to add some humanity into him because watching the silent film, of course, it's very dramatic and Max Schreck struck that pose when he got in front of the window with a hand on the heart and a hand
Oh,
toward
yeah,
the window, like, no, not the sun, right? So I wanted to strike that iconic pose as I tried to strike a lot of his iconic poses throughout the film. but give some backstory, meaning, and some heart and soul of why he got into that pose.
Oh, I love that.
So this moment in the bedroom, I'm thinking, wow, I had my dessert. I've reached the pinnacle of my desires. Where do I go from here? Is there anything left? And did it really truly satisfy me, or am I just a pathetic being? And do I have any reason to live beyond this? So when the sun is coming in the window, he knows he's going to burn. Do I take my chances and try to get out of the room and pass the window? Sure. And if I die, you know what? Maybe I deserve it by now. I think that's kind of what the backstory I gave him, that maybe
like
Max Shrek,
that.
I'm not sure did or not. So
It translates, definitely.
It really does.
no, thank you. Thank you so much. That's very, very sweet. Beautiful and wonderful and intimidating to play this role too, because there's no way to not compare me to Max Shrek and also to all the other Nosferatus, including Willem Dafoe's brilliant Shadow of the Vampire version. And of course, Bill Skarsgård coming. I'm sure he's going to be delicious in whatever he does with it too.
Definitely. But yeah, I could see why that would be an intimidating role to take on for sure.
I love that you put like your own like spin on it though, and that you put your own like feelings into those poses and everything, because it really does translate.
Yeah, you left your mark on Nosferatu.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I was so happy that our director too was on board with like making sure we hit all those iconic notes, like when he's in the bowels of the ship in transit, and the captain comes down and sees him like standing up from his coffin, stiff as a board, right?
So good.
Well, right, that took some engineering, by the way. But we did it. And then also that famous shadow going up the stairs when he's on his way to Ellen's bedroom.
So spooky.
Right? Yeah. And then of course, like I said, that the grabbing of the heart and the hand out to the sun when it's time.
Favorite.
Classic.
I love it.
Classic moment. Yeah.
It's awesome. Going back to the look, you mentioned, like, does he even know that he looks like this? What was the costuming like? Like, was it very heavy on prosthetics? How was that for you?
Yeah, good question. This was, as far as prosthetics go, again, I've played creatures that are rubberized from head to toe. This was not that. This was head and hands, thank heaven.
Nice.
So with a very specific wardrobe to match the original wardrobe, and there was a bit of a hump built into the back because he was hunched over in the original film. I think I probably stand a little straighter than Max Shrek did, but they still did have some extra built into that hump area of the back.
Oh, okay.
With this long double-breasted coat, and that was gorgeous. And the prosthetics, though, were I wore more prosthetics than the other Nosferatus have.
Really?
That have played him more, including Max Shrek was very smooth. It was basically his face with a bald cap and some ears and some funny hair, swaths of hair placed just so. I was more wrinkled and elderly looking, which was a design choice. And here's the fun backstory of that look. Mike Elizalde, a very talented artist who owns the creature shop Spectral Motion, that did the Hellboy movies with me and the Silver Surfer movie with me, and he, as a garage project at home, started sculpting a Nosferatu decades ago on a life cast of me, my bust.
Oh wow!
He added clay to me and started sculpting what he thought Nosferatu might look like in his dreams. And he came up with that. Once it was done, they had prosthetic pieces made of it. And just as a fun makeup test one day, he called up and said, "Would you ever want to put this on just for a Saturday afternoon fun photo shoot?" I said,
Casual.
Yes.
It's like manifesting.
Right. So we went and did that. And this is, again, a good 10 years before this movie came up.
Oh, this was meant to be.
Yeah. So when David Lee Fisher, who I'd worked with before on a movie much like this, we did a reimagining, a remix of The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, that 1919 silent film that we made into the same thing, old movie, new movie put together with dialogue, sound, musical score. So David Lee Fisher calls me up one day and says, "Hey, if you don't want to do this, I won't do it, but I have this idea. Would you want to ever do Nosferatu like we did Caligari?" And I was like, "You have been reading my dreams." Yes. Right. So, and I said in that same phone call, "Oh my gosh, I know exactly what makeup I want to wear doing this too."
Wow.
So we went back to Mike Elizalde, and his design is what Mo Meinhardt and Ben Plowman then put on me on the day. It took about 4 hours a day. And those 4 hours also included appliances on the back of my hands to make them more bony and veiny.
Right.
And also to add those long, delicious talons to my fingernails. Yes.
The acrylics.
Right. Talk about Lee press-on nails. Those are,
That is so cool. It was like you were manifesting this 10 years in advance. That's amazing.
Yeah, for real.
Isn't that wackadoodle? I know. I love it. Just love it.
See, it was meant to be.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It really was. So speaking of all these vampire things, because vampires are so much fun and it's spooky season and Nosferatu, a symphony of horror is coming. Like, why not talk about a funny, stinky vampire legend really quick? We thought.
Oh, okay. I want to hear this. Yes.
All right. I've got a stinky vampire for you.
Okay.
This case of vampirism brings us all the way back to Pęcz, Silesia, a section of Poland. It was the ye old days of 1582.
Oh.
And Johannes...
That is ye old.
It's ye old. Johannes Kunchis was out with one of his horses. They were all trying to repair the horse's shoe. It was him and a couple assistants. Now, something went wrong where the horse got upset and actually ended up kicking Kunchis, knocking him unconscious. Also, I swear that's his name, and I'm not swearing right now.
Yeah, Kunchis went unconscious.
Yes, exactly. So luckily, like I said, he wasn't working out there alone. So they picked him up, they brought him inside, laid him down in bed. Now, he slipped in and out of consciousness in the following days. But in the moments where he was with it awake, some dark, dark secrets started to come out.
Uh-oh.
Kunchis was very, very worried about dying because the life he led wasn't really the purest. Oops. He was a well-respected alderman in his small community, but he admitted while laying on his deathbed that his life had been full of various sins. Some even claimed that he admitted to making a deal with the devil.
That's a big one.
That's a huge one.
That's a big one, yeah.
That'll send you straight to Hades.
Yeah.
Life-altering.
So the story goes that the deal was made around the same time that Kunchis' young son, disappeared. And many believe that he actually sold his son to the devil for money, which right after his son disappeared, he fell into a great sum of.
That's the biggest sin you could do, I feel, selling your son to the devil.
That's damning evidence too, isn't it?
That's very damning evidence. The timing is suspect.
The literal receipts are there.
And that's the sin of all sins.
Money has exchanged hands.
That's exactly.
Right.
Hands, claws, whatever have you.
Whatever happened.
So while he lay dying in his bed, he would call out, "Woe is me, how do I burn and am all on fire?" And he would repeat over and over again that his sins were, quote, bigger than all of the world besides. And we all agree.
Yeah. And everyone said, ooh.
They said, They said, you sold your son to the devil, Kunchis.
Yeah.
What did you expect?
Yeah, that tracks. Yeah.
It does.
So that the night that Kunchis actually did die, he did eventually come, to his death.
The great unconscious. That's what he became.
The great
unconscious. That was great.
Thank you for that.
No problem.
So the night that he did die, his son, his oldest son that didn't get sold to the devil, was sitting in the room with him and later said that a black cat slinked into the room, jumped upon Kunchis' chest and started scratching at his face feverishly, almost like the cat was trying to erase him from this world, the son said. And this was right before he died.
That's poetic.
He wasn't completely dead yet. It is
not
poetic.
dead yet.
His son said that as the cat suddenly disappeared from the room, Kunchis breathed out his last breath.
Ooh, so he did erase him from the world.
He did. The cat said, "My job here is done."
Yeah, okay. He licked his paws and left the room, right?
Yeah, he said, "You're welcome."
He said, "Peace out, you guys." So the moment that Kunchis did die, a great storm was said to have started, and it raged on all throughout his funeral. Henry Moore wrote, "No sooner Kunchis was dead, but a great tempest arose, which raged most at his very funeral, there being such impetuous storms of wind and snow that it made men's bodies quake, their teeth chatter in their heads. But soon as he was interred, all of a sudden, it was calm."
Damn.
Isn't that beautiful?
That is
I
beautiful.
said, "Okay, Henry."
Yes.
Yeah.
So there were actually a lot of moving pieces surrounding Kunchis' burial. His friends and family all felt, they had heard of his sins, but they said maybe he was just, unconscious and talking crazy.
Yeah.
They said, "I really think he's a great man and he deserves to be laid to rest in a hallowed place." So they all got together and pooled their money to make sure that he was buried to the right of the church's altar, which I guess in ye old days was the best place to
Primo spot.
Primo
Okay.
spot, like rock star parking.
Yeah.
Now, apparently, very shortly after he was put to rest there, little splats of blood started showing up on the church's cloth, which was right above where his grave was.
That's so metal.
And listen to this. People around town started claiming that they were seeing Cunchus roam the streets.
Uh-oh.
That would be, you know, well and fine. Like, cool, be a ghost, be a specter. But Cunchus wasn't just a specter. He was a menace to the town and a straight-up criminal. According to occultworld.com, when Cunchus started roaming the streets again, he was going wild. His specter, quote, strangled old men, galloped around the house like a horse, wrestled with people. This is my personal favorite. Vomited fire. Like we said,
that is menacing.
That's menacing. There's more though. Like we said, spotted the church's altar cloth with blood. This is horrible. Bashed the heads of dogs against the ground.
Oh, straight to jail.
Straight to jail. Turned milk into blood.
Ew.
Drank up supplies of milk.
Ooh.
Sucked cows dry.
Ooh.
Threw goats about. Devoured chickens. And pulled up fence posts. Just a few of the activities that he was up to.
He threw goats about and also pulled up fence posts. Like he was like, bah, your fence.
Whilst vomiting fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. That was his own personal workout.
Yeah,
apparently.
exactly.
Yeah.
Calisthenics, right?
Right.
So he was getting all of that, you know, some of that was like not so great. Most of it, you were just like, okay, Cunchus, you're getting crazy. This is where it gets dark. He was also getting very frisky and inappropriate with the women in town.
That's so like Cunchus.
It's so Cunchusy. Shortly after his death, he was said to have returned to his own home, which neighbors had seen physically shaking in the days leading up to this incident. And he supposedly just walked right into his wife's bedroom and demanded that she move over so he could get into bed with her.
Whoa.
Now, obviously that would be horrifying enough. But to add insult to injury, this specter Cunchus had the most foul breath that this woman had ever smelled in her life.
Oh, this poor woman.
Poor dear.
Poor dear. Loses her husband and he comes back all stanky, wanting to get into bed.
Right.
Lost
With
her...
halitosis. That's
exactly.
the worst.
Lost her husband who sold their son to the devil.
To the devil, yeah.
And now has
she
come
had some
back.
issues to work out in therapy, didn't she?
And then he's like, move over. I'd be like, no.
She rode a horse to her therapist first thing in the morning and said, honey, sit down. So now she wasn't the only woman whose bed that Cunchus was trying to get into.
Oh,
Cunchus.
Yeah. Many women in town were reporting seeing his specter appearing to them, touching them without permission, and stanking up the surrounding areas.
He would stink.
He was very smelly. Now, this went on for months and months. People were seeing and unfortunately smelling Cunchus everywhere. He appeared to old friends, old enemies. His specter was returning to his house and scaring the shit out of the servants. People were also seeing flashes of lights at all hours of the night coming from the house. And people saw him on horseback a few times.
You know, he goes for a ride every now and
then.
An
evening stroll.
You know? Yeah.
So obviously something had to be done about this. Am I right?
Yeah.
You're so right.
Get him out of here.
But what were the townspeople to do? How do you stop a dead man?
No.
Well, they started by going to his grave. And when they got there, they saw all these little holes in the ground. So they said, oh, that must be it. You know, he's like oozing out of the earth.
Obviously.
So they said, well, fill these up and maybe that will put an end to things. It did not. And the little holes just kept reappearing. So after going back to the drawing board, they decided something more had to be done here. They had to exhume his body and check it out. So they set out to do just that. And when his coffin was opened up, somehow, after 6 months of being dead as a doornail, Cunchus's body was perfectly preserved.
Uh-oh.
But I bet it stunk.
It did stink, definitely.
But it had to stink, though.
Can confirm.
Had to stink, definitely.
Yeah.
It's even said that they handed him a staff and he was able to reach out and grab it. So they were like, this rocked their worlds even more. They said, what are we to do here? So they actually went to a judge and had asked him what they should do. And he said the best thing that they could possibly do was burn Cunchus's body. So they said, okay, all right, let's do it.
He's a vampire.
He's a vampire. They said, you're working with a vampire here. You got to burn him.
Yeah.
So they tried to. They tried to light him ablaze, but his body wouldn't stay lit. Cunchus said no.
It's like awful birthday candles.
Yes, those trick candles.
They got the idea from Conscious. You didn't know?
Yeah.
If you look on the back, it actually has this legend on the little package.
right.
It does. It's just more condensed. That's all. So they said, well, we got to do something about this. So they ended up cutting him into smaller pieces. And when they made the first cut, they said blood spilled from him like it was still flowing freely throughout his body.
My goodness.
After 6 months of death.
After 6 months of death. But luckily, they ended up being able to fully burn the body once it was cut into smaller pieces. And nobody ever saw or smelled Conscious again.
Damn.
Well,
What a crazy tale, right?
Was quite a tale. And so I have to ask. Was this are these true accounts? Is this fictitious? Where does this story come from? Polish folklore, at least, right?
Yes, it's Polish folklore, and it's based off of Henry Moore's version of events of this tale that he wrote, and it was basically something he was writing against atheism.
Whoa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
He was like conscious. It happened.
He said, there's actually, you can read, and I'll link it in the show notes, you can read this tale in much greater detail, because Henry Moore told us a lot about Conscious.
Ooh.
Oh, really? Okay. So that you gave us the abridged version?
This is the abridged version. I didn't want to keep you here. I know you have other roles to get to, Dougie.
Sure. I want to play Conscious now.
I was going to say your next role is right here.
I'll send you the link to the detailed version, and you find somebody to make that movie.
Okay, it's a deal. Oh, I was going to say, I'm surprised it hasn't been made yet.
Honestly,
I know.
if
this comes from 1500 something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just start practicing throwing goats about and vomiting fire.
Right. And taking fences up by the pegs.
Yes, just pulling fences up.
Just skip the other crappy stuff, like, the dog beating and the woman.
No, I don't want to.
Intimidating.
Right.
And,
milking cows and turning them to blood. Or,
Yeah, maybe skip that part.
But, throwing goats about is fine as long as you're not hurting them. I think.
Right, if they can land on their hooves. Okay.
Yeah, just holding their hooves and running around with them.
Yeah, there you go. Well, yeah, that's the tale of Conscious.
Man,
wow.
I like that.
Thank you for that. That was a story I'd never heard before.
I'm so glad to tell Doug Jones a story he's never heard.
Yeah.
A great honor. About a vampire.
About a vampire.
Well, we would end on Conscious, which would seem appropriate, but we do have one little thing that we would love to end on. We love to do a little short game with guests a lot because these tend to be fun to hear answers for. So we would like to know who out of these three characters that I'm going to list would be most likely to do these certain things I'm going to ask.
Okay.
So who out of Billy Butcherson, Baron Alphenaus, and Nosferatu would have which one would have won the Hunger Games?
Okay. Oh, not Billy. I don't think he has any powers to last very long.
No. And the mouth sewn shut would be, not great.
But between Baron Alphenaus and Nosferatu, I'm going to say it's probably going to be the Baron. The Baron will have lasted longer for the Hunger Games because he tends to show like supernatural powers more often, right? Where he flies, he zaps things with his hands. He could take them. He could take them all.
I think so.
I think so too. And he's charming. So
yes.
he could do the alliance thing really well. And
yeah, he's good at gaslighting. Yeah.
I agree.
That's the perfect answer.
Yeah.
So the next one is out of those three characters, who would take over the world successfully if given the chance?
Oh, poor Billy. I'm going to have to leave him out of this one again.
Poor Billy.
Bless his heart.
He might win the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah, he probably will win the next one.
Okay. So why don't we, I'm going to say probably, let's go with Nosferatu on this one, because I think that Count Orlok, his subtleties and his sneaking around the back door kind of personality might be what gets him to take over things with no one knowing about it. Whereas the Baron is very out there and very presentational. And he does it with a flourish. And so you see it coming and he would be stopped before. But the Count would be more shifty about it. Yeah.
Good
point. Good point. I agree with that.
I love the thought put into this.
That was a good one. And the last one, I'm thinking about it, and it might not be Billy, but possibly.
Okay.
Who would have the biggest TikTok following out of the three.
Well, no, honestly, it is indeed Billy.
I was
Oh,
gonna say,
absolutely,
I
Billy.
felt like he was gonna win, but I didn't know if the Baron could edge him out.
Well, the Baron would love to be the most famous of all of them because he's such a narcissist.
Mhm.
But I think Billy would win because a scene that you never saw, or a moment you
Ooh.
never saw from Hocus Pocus 1 that we did film but was cut from the film, was do you remember the costume dance party
Yes.
Yes.
where Bette Midler gets the witches get up on stage and
Of
sing "I
course.
Put a Spell on You"?
Iconic.
Yes.
Iconic moment, right? Well, my character Billy Butcherson was in that scene, and I broke into and I fit into the costume party. Nobody really noticed me because everybody was done up as something, and so oh, look, the fun zombie, right? Right. So I'm roaming about the crowd looking for the kids and trying to do my deed. And once Bette Midler sings, "I Put a Spell on You," and then the whole crowd gets in a trance and starts dancing until the spell is broken. I'm not under the spell, but I thought it was kind of fun for me. So there was a scene where the action continues outside the dance party, but they come back to the dance party to show everybody still dancing a couple of times.
Oh, I love
One
that.
of those coming back to the parties was going to be Billy hopping up onto stage and dancing once he had an audience, like and be
Oh
like,
my
"Hey, I'm here, I'm
God.
here." And tell you something, I threw my legs about in such tomfoolery. I bounced up and down on the floor. I
I'm
did
so
the
sad we
hurdler
didn't get to
splits.
see this.
Oh my
Yes, so
God.
that was a raging TikTok video before TikTok
Yep.
existed.
You
Okay,
are
so
correct.
I think Billy would have the dance videos that could end all dance videos if
Oh.
he had a TikTok. Yeah.
Wow, I think that footage needs to be released and
Yes.
somebody needs
I
to make Billy
know, right?
Butcherson a TikTok.
Yes.
Yeah.
Come on.
Oh, I love knowing that. Thank you for
Oh,
that.
Yeah,
That
of
was such a
course.
good
I don't
one.
talk about that very often. So you might have gotten an exclusive
I
there.
love that.
Oh, Dougie
Yeah.
Jones forever.
Yeah.
We always have so much fun with
We
you.
do.
Oh, me too, you.
So thank you so much for coming on today. We love sitting with you.
You are always welcome.
You are one of our
Oh.
most favorite, most treasured guests.
Truly.
And plug, whatever you have now, upcoming, feel free to shout it from the rooftops here.
Well, let's go down the list
Let's
that we talked
go.
about. Of course, we have Nosferatu, a Symphony of Horror, coming to Apple TV Friday the 18th of October and on Amazon Prime as well. I'm also told it's on Fandango and Roku, and so look for it on whatever your device is. Also, October 21st starts the new season, the final season of What We Do in the Shadows. Baron Afanas does return for a few episodes. You'll see me on the first night. I think they told me they're going to show 3 episodes on the first night. So you're going to have a lot of shadows to start the season up.
Nice.
Also, Billy Butcherson, as we've talked about, is in Hocus Pocus 1 and 2 all month long on the Freeform channel, playing as a double feature on various nights and days. And other than that, I have more movies coming. I've been doing a lot of indies and shorts over the last year and a half, playing a lot of humans.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah, I'm loving this phase. And one of them is a funny movie called Operation Taco Gary's.
Obsessed already.
It's a zany comedy, right? 2 brothers are on a road trip across the country, and when they get to their destination, they find themselves in the middle of a conspiracy with an Earth takeover by aliens.
Amazing.
And I might happen to be the alien trying to pass as a human who's the leader of all this.
Yes. I'm
Okay,
in.
so
Amazing.
I'm in.
yeah. So Operation Taco Gary's is going to be playing at the Austin Film Festival October 25th.
Awesome.
You have an exciting October, Doug.
I know.
So it's quite a month. It's quite a month.
is.
Yeah, and then next week I'm actually going to North Carolina to film an episode of Blue Ridge, which is a turning of the page for me. I'm going to play a guy who lives in the mountains,
Ooh.
and what happens with me is yet to be discovered.
Ooh.
But that's a show that's led by Jonathan Sheck. If you remember him he was the lead singer of the Wonders in That Thing You Do.
Okay.
And he was also the young hottie in a movie with Winona Ryder called American Quilt. That
Oh
was
my
kind of his
God.
breakout back in the
I
day.
remember that movie.
Yup.
He also played Houdini in a TV movie of Houdini, and he was brilliant as that character. And he also played Jonah Hex in the DC's which DC show was that?
Oh God.
I'm
One
so
of
I'm
them
bad
was
so
on
at
bad
CW.
at these.
Yeah, I know, right? So anyway, so all my scenes are with him, and I can't wait to play that out. That's this coming week. I'm going to be filming that, so that'll come out on the
awesome.
Inspiration Channel and the Cowboy Way. I think when their season 2 finally airs.
Oh, that
Blue
sounds
Ridge.
awesome.
Man, you are busy.
Yes, that's good. We're doing it. We're doing it this month.
All good stuff.
Getting after it. I love
Yeah,
it.
seriously.
Well,
Doug,
thank you again.
Yeah. Thank you so
Well,
much. And again, you are welcome anytime.
Oh, bless you all. Thank you so much for having me. I adore you too. Don't ever change. Okay.
We adore
You
you.
either.
Okay. Loving you so much.
Oh, we love
Thank
you so
you.
much. Thank you so much.
Bye, Doug. Well, guys, we hope you keep listening, and we hope you
Keep
it weird. Unfortunately, you'll never be able to keep it as cool as Doug Jones, but
never.
I meant to say keep it as weird. You'll never be as cool as, and you'll never keep it as weird as Doug Jones. Love you.
So please tell the children that Billy Butcherson loves them very much. Would you do that for me?
Amazing. I was just
All
going to
right.
ask you to do that.
All right.
Thank
Of course,
you so
of course.
much. I appreciate it.